Excellence is manifested in continuous progress, and because excellence is not a single achievement, and success is not the end, but the foundation for great achievement and excellence. Success is not the end, the foundation for excellence. So, those are some of the things we looked at last week. Then we proceeded by looking at some of the inbuilt capacity in human being that tells us that human being can always be excellent, and we can always improve on whatever success that we have already achieved or attained. So we look at the concept of neuroplasticity, that the brain ability to adapt and grow. We said that when we have new experience, we find ourselves in new environment, we're exposed to learning, our cerebral neurons, our brain neurons, have capacity of activating more and forming more synapses, more connectivity, so our brain have capacity to grow. Then we said the body limits. I said the concept of being tired or fatigue is only a psychological construct. It's more psychological construct than physical. So we saw what Dr. Nimois, or central government theories suggests that your brain tells you that you are tired. It's only a brain way of controlling or managing your body system so that you don't break your body system. But we have seen this being proved wrong by many athletes that after many years of training, and then of course when they go to competition, they always break record and they perform stronger and faster than what they were used to be. Then we look at the mastery through deliberate practices. We look at Anders Ericsson, a Swedish psychologist who studied who's an expertise in human development, who proposed that experts in various fields of sport and music, do deliberate practice of our 10,000 hours before they become a pro or they become an expert in that particular field. So we look at all those concepts, and then we said that it is very important for us to progress at the right pace. That slow progression is equal to stagnancy. Slow success is equal to no success at all. So we look at that. Then we said there is wisdom in measuring our progress. That we should look at the standard in our industry and evaluate ourselves to know whether we are actually progressing or not. So we look at it, we said you have to benchmark against clear standards in the industry. You have to measure the rate of growth over time, and of course, you stress test your efforts. You do stress test for your efforts. Then you seek external feedback. Look at your coach, your tutor, your mentor, and let them accept you or some faithful friend to tell you whether you are actually doing well or not. So that is what we look at. Okay, as we proceed, I also want to tell you today, as we proceed in the concept of improvement in order to achieve or attain excellence in life, I also want to mention here today that there is no finish line in the school of excellence. There is no finish line. There is no a point in time when you say, I am done. Okay, I can't improve again. The finish line here represents, the conclusion of a journey. Okay, a point where effort cease and then challenges are considered completed. There is no last level in life or in any adventure or in any pursuit of leadership. Okay, as in there is human challenges keep evolving. Okay, and the more you are able to solve those challenges, the more excellent you could be. Okay, so unlike in a race, athletic race, for example, where the finish line signifies the completion and how they determine who is the winner. Okay, so the pursuit of excellence is never ending because excellence operates differently. It operates differently in leadership. Okay, human challenges are different, and excellence operates differently. So it does not recognize, an end point. Okay, leadership excellence does not recognize an end point, unfortunately. Instead, it demands perpetual and continuous advancement. That our advancement and our pursuit must be perpetual and advance. So no achievement is the end point of excellence. There's no achievement that marks the end point in excellence. History has constantly proved that human progress never stands still. Okay? Human progress and pursuit never stands still. Human always seek improvement. And that is what makes us unique. Okay, a better way, a more cost-effective way, a more safe way, a more smart way of doing things. So what was once considered impossible, has become possible now and become our everyday reality. Many things that were considered impossible in some years back have become our everyday reality now. So at a certain age, concepts like AI, space travel, and of course wireless communication were just in the in the realm of scientific fiction. They are in the realm of scientific imaginations, so they are only conceived, fictions in the scientific realm. Okay, they are not practical. But today, they are seamlessly integrated into our daily lives. So the rapid transformation of 21st century is so insignificant that many things are now becoming reality. For example, in 1927, you can imagine how a television set looked like then. Okay? But in today's reality, you can see that even on your wristwatch, you can stream, you can live stream on our smartphone. You can watch, movie, you can watch soccer, you can watch anything. So many people don't need to sit down inside, a box again. There's no even box again. It has become a slim piece of screen, very slim piece of what? Of screen. You can imagine the world of computer. Okay, how computer looked like in the 18th century and then of course 19th century. But now look at it, what they look like now. You know, so even eyeglasses are now used as what? Recorders. You know, common eyeglasses, you know, button on your shirt are now used as a video camera, you know, as a recorder. So healthcare, look at the healthcare, eradication of diseases and precision medicine. Okay, now diagnostic medicine, diagnosis of disease has become so efficient, and things that were in the past are regarded as disease of unknown origin, and you don't know what caused them, and they don't know how they can be treated. They've now been known, you know, as a surgery can now be performed, you know, so precise. Even remote surgery can now be performed. You know, vaccines and vaccination. So diseases that are considered deadly and that are killing people, okay, that cannot be treated or prevented. And now solutions are now being, you know, provided to them through vaccination. You know, look at transportation and mobility. Okay, I imagine what car looked like, you know, in the 18th century. You know, but look at what cars are looking like now. You know, look at supersonic jets that can travel within minutes and take you into thousands of miles. You know, look at space travel. Look at, you know, a driverless car. A driverless, you know, robots moving from, you know, one place to the other, you know, cars driving themselves. Look at electric cars. Look at electric motorcycle, electric bicycle, and the likes. So there's a lot of improvements that are going on in our world today. That if you are saying that something is not possible and you will stop where you are and will not shift ground and pursue, okay, then you will go into irrelevance. So you should become very irrelevant. So the pursuit of human endeavor is unlimited. It's unlimited. Pursuit continue on daily basis. So the moment we believe we have arrived, we actually stop going. So the moment we believe we have arrived, we actually stop going. So I want to talk to somebody, you know, this particular afternoon, and to let you know that you need to pursue progress and pursue, you know, improvement on a daily basis. You know, so another concept that I want to introduce now is that nothing is perfect now, and this is very, very important, because many people, the reason why they have not started pursuing their dream, the reason why they have not been able to shift and do more, is because they are actually waiting for a perfect time. They are waiting for a perfect product. They think until they make their product perfect, or until the service become flawless, before they will start. Unfortunately, you know, perfection is an illusion. Perfection is what? Is just an illusion. Okay? No product or service, okay, or relationship is flawless. There is no anything that is ideal and perfect anywhere in the world. I'm sorry, but that's the reality of our existence. So if you are waiting until you have the perfect condition, you have the perfect environment, you have the perfect partner, you have the perfect relationship before you will start pursuing your dream or you start chasing your vision, then you will never get started and you will never do anything. You know, because nothing is perfect, because perfection will require, you know, flawless human being. Human being is a major factor, you know, in environmental and service and product creation. You know, environmental management, service delivery, product creation, you know, service, you know, rendering. Human beings are major factor, and unfortunately, whether by environment or by creation or by intrinsic condition or external condition, there is no perfect or flawless human being. Okay, so it does not exist anywhere. You know, so but rather than that, you know, seeing that as a discouragement or seeing it as an excuse for achieving great things, you know, a great leader, an excellent leader, see that as a motivation. He sees that there is no flawless, there is no perfection anywhere. It's a feeder into seeing it as what? myself, okay, since there is no flawless, I can keep improving. I can keep, improving my products. I can keep improving my service, day in, day out. I can keep improving my service day in, day out. So it is very, very important. Let me put the link on Facebook. So it is very, very important, okay, for you to stay motivated. Don't just look at circumstance that because no thing is working, things are not perfect, I don't have this, I don't have that, and that is your excuse for not doing anything, or that is your excuse for not moving ahead. No, let that feed your motivation, okay? Let that feed into you, to be able to do more, So, a reminder that there's always a room for growth. So it's a reminder that there's always a room for what? For growth. Where there is no perfection, okay? It should remind you that there's more room for growth, there's room for refinement, and there's more and more that you can contribute to that particular product and service to improve on it, okay? So this is very, very important for us to, actually note, at this point in time. Okay? So the very imperfection in the world around us is an opportunity for improvement. So the imperfection around our world today is actually an opportunity for what? For improvements. Because nothing is perfect, there's always something new to add. When there's always something new to add. When you see the flaw or the imperfection in something, it should be an advantage for you to create better, and then be perfect, and improve on that particular product. So there's something to add, there's something to add, and something better to create. So we can always add something and make sure that we create a better thing.
This concept actually fuels the journey for excellence. Knowing that there's something to add, there's something to do better, there's a better thing to create, there's a better thing to add, you can have a better contribution, actually fuels, motivates what? Excellence. So please note this, that the goalpost for perfection is always shifting upward. The goalpost for perfection is ever shifting, upward. It's always changing, meaning that pursuit of excellence should never stop. Pursuit of excellence should never stop. King Solomon in Proverbs chapter number 4 and verse number 18, I suppose, said something. He said, the path of the just is as a shining light that keeps shining brighter and brighter until the perfect day. The perfect day is the day when the world ceases to exist. So an excellent man keeps shining and evolving to do better things and shifting the goalposts and scoring more goals, raising the height, raising the standard every day and all time. So meaning that life is all about constant aiming higher, constantly aiming what? Higher. That is all about life. You must constantly be motivated to aim higher and higher. Then of course, if you have to motivate higher and higher, fueling motivation through a progressive mindset. So you can fuel your motivation through a progressive mindset. Don't have a stagnant or being pessimistic. Don't be pessimistic. Don't think that nothing is working. I can't do anything. I can't do this and that, whatever. No. It is often said that the largest room in the world is the room for improvements. The largest room in the world, in fact, the most ubiquitous available room in the world is a room for what? Improvement. So rather than seeing excellence as a finish line, a progressive mindset embraces the idea there is always more to build and to contribute. A progressive mindset sees every challenge and every imperfection as an opportunity to do more and to improve on what is being done. Okay, so a huge investment today sets a pace actually for an advancement tomorrow. You can only make a foundation, and whatever you are doing today, can always be advanced, in the future. So journey of excellence, therefore, never truly ends. The journey of excellence in leadership in our society never truly ends, because as long as we are alive, as long as we are still breathing, we have something more to add. As long as we have ability, we have not been rendered useless. We have something to contribute to our environment and to our society. So this is where the motivation lies. This is a motivation that you must invest something today. You must choose every day as an investment opportunity, and every challenge as an opportunity to do more, knowing that tomorrow one will make up and still make more. Tomorrow you will still make more. You can do more tomorrow. Okay. Everything living can grow, and not that can grow, everything living grows according to science. As in growth and development is a characteristics of living thing. But anything that stop growing is dead. Okay, so life itself thrives on progress. Life itself thrives on progress. Stagnant water stink, flowing water are refreshed. So when you are stagnant, or you are stagnated, or you stay in one place, or you abandon a project, it starts decaying. So it requires progress. So the moment growth stops, decline begins, death begins. So when we embrace the reality, okay, therefore no finish line in the school of excellence. When we embrace this reality, the reality that life is all about what? Improvement. There's something you can still contribute. There's something that you can still do more. Then of course we know that we can always improve. Okay. In order for you to maintain the culture of excellence, therefore, also further to being progressive, I want to introduce another concept of paying attention to details. The concept of paying attention to what? To details. And this will help you to actually know how to pay attention to details. That it will also help you to know that what separates extraordinary from ordinary is actually paying attention to details. Okay, it's actually paying attention to details. So Bishop David Oyedepo of the founding bishop of Winners Chapel says something, and I want to quote. He said, "Great leaders always mind details of their assignments, of their goals, of their endeavor, of their pursuit. They pay attention to details." Great leaders. Why the small mindset despise details and go for all that is convenience. So they only want to pursue the convenience. They don't pay attention to details. That is what small leaders, people with reduced and minimum mindset do. It is important to know that excellence is really a dramatic, sudden achievement. No. It's no. Excellence is never as a result of one sudden dramatic achievement or transformation, something that just happened overnight or just happened by chance. More often, it is built on the foundation of small deliberate action. Small deliberate actions, little here, little there, paying attention to the little things that others overlook is what makes you an excellent leader. Paying attention to certain details that people say it doesn't matter, okay? Paying attention to those things. So one intense workout does not make a pro athlete, okay? Just wake up one day and you begin to jog, you begin to exercise, gym, from day to night does not mean it can never produce an Olympic medalist the next day. Okay, so it is rather that they train gradually, deliberate little improvements, paying attention to. So that is similar to the school of excellence, that it is not one-time achievement, but habit of refining details, ensuring one paying attention, precision, and mastering insignificant but very important elements of our endeavor. So you have to master insignificant but a very important element of our endeavor. Bishop Adepo also said something. He said, you don't grow big to manage well. You don't grow big to manage well. You manage well to grow big. You rather manage well to grow big. You don't grow big. You say, when I become big, I will manage this thing well. No, you'll never be big. So you manage well and you grow big. So excellence is not something that one achieve in one giant leap. Just one giant, leap or jump. Then you jump in the realm of excellence. No, it's as a result of mastering small things consistently. In fact, someone won't call compound interest as the fourth, as the 8 wonders of the world. He said, little things here. Okay, explaining that those who understand it well reap its reward. That's a little thing here. Look at whales. Whale is one of the smallest creature in the ocean. But millions of them, in fact they said about 16 millions of them. Okay, so that is what it feeds in. It does not look for another whale to eat. Okay, so little things, little there. So the same principle applies to excellence. It begins with small deliberate improvements. Small deliberate improvements. Small deliberate improvements. I taught us the principle of 1% daily improvements that cumulates into very massive impacts and massive changes, transformation in our life endeavor. So we need to pay attention to this. One of the common misconceptions about excellence is that excellence comes from sudden breakthroughs, but in reality excellence is built over time through consistent incremental improvement. Consistent incremental improvements that are building over each other. Okay, targeting a given goal. Okay, so a little extra effort here and there, okay, each day, a small reinforcement, a new technique lands, slight improvement in one process, may not seem significant at first, at the moment, but over time those small changes will begin to compound interest, and they lead to an extraordinary result. I will give you one important example, one very important example, or maybe two, as time will permit. Okay, one example is the British cycling team, British cycling team, under Coach Dave Bradford. His efforts and the achievement confirm how excellence is built, paying attention to details and built over time. For nearly a century, the British cycling team struggled winning just a single gold medal. Then in 2003, Dave Bradford introduced the concept of marginal gain, and the idea is improving just 1% in multiple areas that lead to massive transformation. I've taught us this concept of 1% daily improvement before. So the team focus on seemingly minor optimization like improving endurance, improving on food and nutrition, and ensuring cyclists, in fact, they introduced the concept of daily hand wash, frequent daily hand wash, introduce, sanitizer, detergents to wash hand on daily basis after every class. And why this? It reduces the downtime period, the breakdowns. It reduces, the level of sickness and breakdown and downtime period, and it also ensure that if at all, of course, when they have eaten well and there is no continuous introduction of pathogen into their body system, it also means that even if you are sick, you will recover very quickly. So at first, this small adjustment seems insignificant, sincerely, but as the coach maintained each of these improvements, it compounded over time, and the result became undeniable, to the point that 5 years later, at 2008 Olympic, this particular team, between 2008 and 2012, the team Great Britain dominated the cycling, winning 60% of the gold medals. They dominated everywhere. They won 60% of the gold medals. So this is the power of small improvements. This is what small improvements can do. Okay? So we can actually achieve so much if we pay attention to, micro, small details. Small details. So the area where people, neglect, people don't pay attention to. So improvements might at times, in leadership may not just be, about, going to school or go and learn, not just about learning new techniques, but just by improving on little things, over time, it can actually help us to, improve, So I think we will draw the curtain today. Okay, we'll have to stop here because we are having so much, technical issue, especially with lights. Our soundproof generator did not work, and then we have to use, a smaller generator, and it's been giving us a lot of trouble. So we are very sorry for that. Before next week, we will have improved so much, on this particular, generator, and there will be, provision of, power. Of course, we don't depend on the national grid or, IBDC for this. So maybe next week I will give us the second example of, that enthrone excellence through paying attention to small details. So till I come your way again next week, just to draw conclusion that we can do. There is no finish line in the score of excellence, and there is no perfect situation to do whatever you want to do. There is no perfect, there is no flawless service or product. And instead of that discouraging you, that is actually my main message for today. Instead of that discouraging you, you should let that feed into your motivation mind, and meal it and let it motivate you, and take advantage that since there is no flawlessness and there is no perfection, then it means that there's a lot you can do, there's a lot you can improve, there's a lot you can contribute, there's a lot that you can actually grow and then make better, then that is a motivation and drive into what? Excellency. That's a motivation and drive into what? Excellency. And of course, the last thing I talked about today, is about when you pay attention to details, things that people often ignore, and they said it doesn't matter, are the things that, excellent leader pay attention to, and they do this one here, do this one here, do this one here, and of course it accumulates, it compound into massive improvement eventually. So stop neglecting micro or small things. Pay attention to details. Great leaders pay attention to their goals. Why weak leaders or poor leader, at least they are careless with their what? With their goal and their assignment. So for you to be emerged as a great leader, so I will encourage you to pay attention. Then I gave example of the British cycling team, how Dave Bramford actually pay attention to details by improving sanitation, improving on nutrition, making sure that introduce the principle of marginal improvements, and increasing the endurance of the athletes. And of course 5 years later they began to dominate Olympic continuously back to back in that particular field of sports cycling. So you can also repeat the same and replicate the same in your life by making sure you take steps to read more, you take steps to pay attention to little complaint, to little things that are not perfect, and then of course they will compound into maximum and a big transformation that can engender and enthrone improvements and excellence in your life. So till I come your way next week, remain blessed. God bless you. Amen.